What's up, everybody? It's Blue Drake, and today wanted to make a quick update on some of the things we've been doing for 1942 and the server that we're going to be hosting. Hopefully soon, we're also going to be releasing an installer, etc., like we did for SWAT 4. So let's dive into some of the changes that we've been making for this mod. Like I said, we're actually operating off of a base mod called World War II Realism. I've actually been in touch with the creator of that, Pilot 51. He may or may not be interested in joining the project. We'll just have to see. A lot of these people obviously haven't played 1942 in a while, and they haven't modded it for even longer. So getting help is hard, to say the least. So if you have any idea of what you're doing in 1942 and you can help, or you understand scripting or any of that stuff, please contact us. Oh God, please contact us. There are still going to be some features that we're going to be working hard on, and you could probably totally make a difference. I will be talking about those near the end of this video. But let's talk about some of the progress that we have made. So one of the things that we have furthered in the mod that we're creating on top of World War II Realism is different kits. The World War II Realism mod implements iron sights, but what we're trying to do is create different kit roles. So instead of having your standard kits where you have rather unrealistic loadouts where you just have a whole bunch of people with sniper or a whole bunch of people with rocket launchers, we want to have a little bit more focus on infantry and like crewmen and stuff like that. Now the kits here that you see here, these images we have not changed, so they don't represent the loadouts, but the loadouts themselves haven't changed. So as you can see, there's a support class here, there's a crewman class, there's an officer, there is a pilot, and there is a rifleman. We might also change around where these kits are, maybe pilot, crewman, and then all the infantry kits near the top. So let's talk about some of these classes. Keep in mind, all the stuff that you're going to be seeing here is hella work in progress, and while I want to show you the proof of concept of that we can change things and that we are changing things, the way they're going to be changed, the kit loadouts, all of that stuff is very much to be decided and being worked on, and it's probably you're going to see fluctuate a little bit more, at least until we get some of these fundamental aspects more solidified. So let's talk about the kits. We really do want to have a bigger focus on infantry combat. We don't want everybody walking around with big bazookas and whatnot. So for instance, the rifleman class. Right now the rifleman class has a rifle and a medic bag. Since we only have 5 slots to play around with, 5 different primary spawning classes, as opposed to Battlefield 2 or some other games that have more, we might start consolidating a couple of the classes. So instead of having a medic and a rifleman, we'll just have a rifleman and he'll act as a medic as well. He has a pistol right now. We're currently planning on taking out pistols for everyone except for the crewman class. But again, you know, all of that stuff is up in the air right now, but that's just the way we're leaning. One important change, obviously, is, let's go test it over here. While the rifleman class and all classes can fly this vehicle, we're not sure if we're able to implement class limitations on which vehicles you're able to crew yet. We are looking into that, but even if that doesn't happen, it's not a big issue, because if you try to take off and you get shot down in this aircraft, I'm pressing 9 right now, no parachute. No parachute at all. You will die unless you were able to like creatively crash land or something like that. Whereas the pilot kit, which I will show you in retrospect, which also currently only has a pistol, which I am probably also going to remove, so they only have a knife. Look, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to deal with it. I know everybody's gonna be like, but pilots have a pistol realistically. Yeah, but also pilots fly aircraft for like 13 hours at a time just to do a single bombing raid. So there's going to be a lot of things that we're not going to be able to do realistically for gameplay's sake. So we're probably going to remove pistols, because otherwise people are just going to paratroop and try to pistol people. But we're going to take off here. And another good thing to point out right now is I'm pressing the C button. As you can see, fuck you. I'm not able to switch to third person. We have hard disabled the external views and the nose cameras for all vehicles in the game. We might reintroduce different optic cameras, which we are able to do, similar to Forgotten Hope. I am going to look into that and how that is implemented, and then we'll also have to figure out how we're going to put in the optics. Shouldn't be that hard to do. But we're going to take off with some bombs and kill a bunch of stuff. I'm going to jump out and, what do you know, I have a parachute. So that is another thing that we've been able to implement. The only class in this game that is going to have a parachute is going to be the pilot. So yeah, we're pretty proud of the fact that that's possible. Yeah. So moving on, let's talk about some other changes. Obviously, iron sights are still working, courtesy of the World War II realism mod that we're basing off of. And another interesting thing is that the corpses stay for much longer periods of time, which is actually really awesome when you do a raid on a beach. And also the wreckages stay for much longer periods of time, upwards to like 10 minutes. So if a, I don't know, plane gets destroyed or a tank blows up or something like that, you can actually take cover behind it and use it to fire behind. Except when you get stuck behind sandbags. There we go. So, you know. Yeah, taking cover. Woo! The little things that make a big difference in gameplay. Another thing that we're actually looking into doing is slowing down the player movement speed. Here is a walking speed, and here is the standard moving speed, which is honestly kind of more like a sprint. You move really fast. We're going to slow down the movement speed, not this slow. This walking speed is like way too slow. There's like no middle ground. But we're probably going to slow down this running speed down to maybe like 75% of its full speed. Just tiny little things like that. And let's actually just kill ourselves and take a look at one of the other kits here. Take a look at the crewman kit. Yes, please. As you can see, here's a crewman kit, which has a wrench that you can use to fix your vehicles, has some binoculars, and he has a pistol, etc. These are all things that we're playing around with. Hopefully we'll have the kit loadouts and all of that, at least for like a Phase 1 release, finished within the next week or so. But that is all something that we're really enjoying playing around with and really excited with the fact that we're able to implement properly. So now that I've told you all about the kits, let's move on and talk about some other cool stuff. So let's talk about projectile speed. This is going to be another feature coming from the World War II realism mod. As you know, in the normal Battlefield 1942 game, the cannon projectiles slope rather unrealistically and have a lot of bullet drop. They're also very slow and kind of awkward looking. We're happy to say that now you have a much more realistic velocity, and you can engage targets much further away, which is going to be a big difference with the vastly increased view distance, which actually isn't implemented in this map, but will be in addition to all the other maps. And of course, I am pressing C, and I'm not able to exit my vehicle. All good things, but since we're in a tank, that brings us to the next big aspect of what I want to talk about, which is multi-crew. We currently do not have multi-crew functionality in the vehicles. We think we know how to do it. It is going to be a little bit of work, but this is going to be one of those things where if you can help us figure out how to do this, please, oh God, please help us do it. And let's just break right into it. I'm actually time to get nerdy, folks. Time to get nerdy. I'm going to show you all of the code and all of the stuff we've been doing. So hopefully, if somebody knows how to help us finish implementing this, we can absolutely do it. So let's take a look at that. So just to reiterate, what we're trying to create right now is a tank that has a driver position that only controls the tracks and the movement of the vehicle, and then have the gunner position, which controls the turret itself, so it can move and look in all directions and fire. The driver has his own viewport, the gunner has his own viewport, and they're completely separate entities. Here is the file, or at least an example file of something we're working on. This is the objects.conf file for the Sherman, which is essentially the file that takes all of the aspects of the Sherman, the different models, all of that, and ties it all together. And this is where, at least we believe, and we're pretty damn sure, especially with all of the work we've been doing on it, this is where we're going to be able to make what we want to have come true happen. As you can see, The Sherman is created here, and this is where you give all of its different attributes from damage to hit points, etc. Then if you keep going down, you'll see that the Sherman entry points, the tracks, all of that stuff are attached to the main position, the originally created position, which we found out is actually also the driver position. And if you keep going, you will also find the Sherman Browning, which is the position on top of the tank. So what we need to do is, we originally thought that we might be able to just create another position ahead of the Sherman gunner position, and it would automatically take control of the driver position. Well, unfortunately, it's a little bit more complicated than that. The entire Sherman is built around the driver position. And I'm telling you this secondhand. We've looked into this a lot, and some of our coders, such as Hell Caesar and also Birdie, what they've come to the conclusion of, and what they have explained to me, and what I've heard looking at it myself, is that the Sherman is constructed around the driver position. So in order to create a separate driver and gunner position, we had to remove the gunner position entirely, recreate a driver position, and then build the Sherman around that. As you can see here, object template create player controlled object Sherman. So when you create this, this is the entity that the player takes control of as the driver, as opposed to the turrets, which are created down here, or the secondary positions that are created lower. So originally, the player-controlled object is the Sherman, which has control of the turret and the tracks. What we had to do is create a new player-controlled object from scratch called driver Sherman, and then create the tank around that, and then recreate the turret using the parameters from the turret in the previous file to recreate a new gunner position. We haven't figured out exactly how to do this yet, and take everything take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. This is what we've kind of come to the conclusion of so far. We're going to work on it more tomorrow. So far, every time we've tried to recreate the Sherman with a new driver position, it either doesn't load properly or there's some kind of issue. So if you have any idea how to do this, or if you want to look into doing it, please let us know. You can get to the objects RFA file in the BF1942 mod archives section, and then from there you can use WinRFA to unpack it, and then it's under vehicles, land, and then any tank file, for this case the Sherman, and it's all constructed in the objects.conf file. Give that a look. Maybe you'll see something we don't, and contact me on either our Discord or on the forums. However, that's more or less it, just to go over everything. So we've figured out how to implement the fundamentals of new kits and new spawn mechanics. We're still learning how to implement the new tank positions, and hopefully that's something we can get some help with. So if you know how to do that, please let us know. We know how to increase the vehicle spawn times. That's actually not a difficult thing to change. I remember Birdie found it. I can't remember if it was in the map file, or map RFA file, or if it was in the core RFA file, but we do know how to do that. So when we release the 1942 installer with our server-side mod or whatever, we'll have increased spawn times. Similar to Project Reality, but probably not as brutal. We also know how to increase the render distance for objects and effects, which is really important because we were increasing the view distance, but we didn't realize that we weren't increasing the object render distance, so you could see the island, but you wouldn't be able to see all the trees on it, or you could see a plane and shoot at it with flak, but you wouldn't be able to see all the flak explosions, little things like that, which we know how to fix. The magic bombs issue has been fixed. That was something that came with World War II, with the World War II realism. So now the aircraft have realistic weapon loadouts. They don't have like infinite bombs. Same with iron sights. Same with crosshair removals. Those three things were done with the World War II realism mod. We figured out how to disable third-person cameras per vehicle. That was actually not too hard. We found a tutorial for it. I would show it to you, but there was essentially just a couple of object template calls that we had to put, or like parameter lines that we had to put in the I believe it was the objects.con RFA the objects.conf file for the each respective vehicle, which was in the objects RFA file. So now that that's done, the third-person cameras have been disabled, but we're also looking into taking that further and creating different viewports and stuff like that. So maybe a tank will have an extra viewport or an extra weapon optic, or maybe the bomber planes will have the ability to look through like a bomb site, or maybe even the normal planes, the fighter planes, will have the ability to press a button and then like zoom in on their crosshairs, something like that. Little things like that that we're looking in how to implement. And then of course we've also obviously figured out how to increase view distance. Really easy thing to do that we did in the map file. Besides that, we've gotten some requests to update the effects. There's apparently some mods out there that have some like graphical overhauls that we've been asked to use, and some people really want us to use. So we're gonna look at those. I don't really know which ones we want to go with. And then of course, if you are a mapper, please hit me up, Battlefield 1942 mapper. We already have about 3 or 4, but the more the merrier, because when we get all of the core framework done for the mod and for the community version of what we're going to play, we really want to support it with maps coming out on a semi-frequent basis, so there's always like new content and whatnot. And then of course there's replacing the nose cams with weapon optics. We're not really sure when we're going to be able to do that, but we really do want to do that at some point. Not sure if that's going to be in the first release or not, but that's pretty much it. So thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure you like and subscribe, or don't, whatever. If you want to help support the servers that we actually just bought to put up the 1942 server and the new Mumble server and all of the integration, and also construct the launcher for this that is going to integrate Mumble into the game, all of those things, feel free to become a backer or drop a donation, or just continue watching, because all of that really helps support all of this, and it helps both myself and a whole bunch of our staff the time and the resources in order to stay up working on this tirelessly, like every day. So that really does make a big difference, and a lot of that either goes to paying off our servers, or for paying for specialty help either from modders or some of our staff who put in an obscene amount of time on this project. Lastly, I guess I didn't talk about Mumble that much. We are still working on further Mumble integration. We've gotten Mumble to function inside the game itself, which is great. We're really happy that that's compatible. However, we now have to look into a couple of further things, such as shutting off Mumble if you are not explicitly connected to a server. We don't want people who are not connected to a server coming in and like spamming chat and like voice comms to like everybody on a server. It'd be really annoying, or maybe if it breaks for somebody and they do it on accident. We don't want that to happen. We also need to figure out if it's possible to split players into teams. So if we have a server that doesn't want global proximity VoIP for enemies and friendlies, maybe hopefully that's something we can implement. And then on top of that, we just have to look into a couple of the things that finalize Mumble being effectively integrated into the game, such as integrating into the launcher properly so it launches when the game launches, it closes down when the game closes, attaching it to that. Also making it so if we don't want to have it so everybody just connects to one Mumble server, which wouldn't be terrible, but it would maybe harm longevity, because hopefully everybody kind of if this becomes popular and we have a lot of different communities that want to host their own server, they may want to host their own Mumble server. So we need to see if that's possible to implement. So instead of Mumble just connecting you to one server as soon as the launcher launches, maybe it'll wait and figure out what server you connect to in Battlefield 1942, and then connect to that server's respective Mumble server. All of those things would be really good if we can get functioning. So yeah, that is it. That is all of it. If you want to support us, visit the website. If you know how to do any of these things, or if you are a programmer, or you have any understanding either in Battlefield 1942 or not as in terms of scripting, please let me know. If you're a mapper, please let me know. If you know how to map in Battlefield 2 or Vietnam, very similar. Talk to me anyways, because I really like talking to Battlefield 2 mappers, because that's something we also really like doing. And yeah, okay, that's it. I will talk to you guys later. Thanks so much for watching this update, and blow me.